So it turns out In-N-Out is a cult. I just did a lot of research on why In-N-Out is so successful, and it turns out In-N-Out is a cult. So if you live in California, you know about In-N-Out. In-N-Out is by far the best burger, hands down. There's no competition. Every time someone comes around and says that there's a burger that's better than In-N-Out or compares to In-N-Out, it just doesn't. Shake Shack was a recent franchise that came out, and people from the East Coast would say that Shake Shack is better than In-N-Out. I was excited to try it. When I did try it, it wasn't even close. In-N-Out was an exceptionally better burger and better product. And there's a lot of reasons why there's a secret to their success, and I'm going to go over that. What you need to know about In-N-Out is that they have 400 stores, yet they do $600 million a year, and they're worth $3 billion. So if you do the math, that means that each store is producing almost $15 million. But let's back it up and start from the beginning. In-N-Out was founded in 1948 by Harry and Ester Snyder. They're a husband and wife duo. They worked in restaurants, they were tired of the grind, they saved up a little money, and they bought a restaurant. They bought one little restaurant that served burgers and fries. Their goal was to keep it as simple as possible because it was just them two running it. So they didn't want to put a bunch of excessive stuff on the menu. So they just had burgers, cheeseburgers, fries. And this is why it's kind of important to have restaurant experience before you start a restaurant, because you know the ins and outs of a restaurant. You know how a restaurant functions. It's not necessary, but if you're going to start a restaurant, you don't have any restaurant experience, you need to hire someone that can run the day-to-day, that can give you the ideas, that can give you the flow, because it's crucial to have that inside knowledge of how to make a restaurant flow perfectly to give customers the best experience possible. A fun fact about In-N-Out was one of the first restaurants ever to have a drive-thru, and that's where they gained their popularity. The restaurant blew up right away. They were super popular. They started opening more and more locations with drive-thrus, but they kept it really tightly knit. They didn't try and scale too fast, and they stuck to their values. They had set values of what they were going to do, what their food was going to represent, what their brand was going to represent, and they stuck with it. They knew the secret to success was giving the consumer the best possible product and the best possible customer experience. And they took both those things very serious, and that's a key to their success. Unfortunately, the husband, Harry Snyder, was only 62 when he passed, leaving the entire company to Esther, his wife. And she ran the company all the way until 2009 when she passed, until 2010 when Lindsay Snyder, the only blood relative of Harry and Esther, their granddaughter, took over In-N-Out as president. Now, I kind of want to dive into how In-N-Out is so successful. So one is they do not franchise. In-N-Out does not franchise their locations because they don't want to lose the quality and the customer experience. They take pride in both those things on such a level that they don't want to lose control by giving someone else the keys. And I actually agree with this method. I think franchising inevitably will water down a brand reputation and the quality of the product. It's just inevitable. Doesn't mean it's not necessary. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. But for me personally, if I had a brand and a company, I wouldn't want the brand to get watered down. I wouldn't want the quality of the product to get watered down. If I was going for a cash grab and I wanted to make some money and just franchise my business, and sure, I could do that. But I guess that's preference as you as a business owner. So with that being said, they also will not go public. Obviously, people have been vying for them to go public for quite some time, and they would make a lot of money if they went public. But Lindsay said in 2016 that she would not go public. She would not even consider it. She said the only motivation to go public would be money, and that's not acceptable for her. She does not want her motives for her business to ever be strictly for money. She wants to be doing good. And that's another thing I want to jump into too, is that In-N-Out does a lot of charity work with their communities. There's an In-N-Out in a community. Near that community, they donate to the churches, donate to the hospitals, donate to the schools. They give firefighters, police officers, veterans discounts. They offer all types of things to give back to the community, which is important. And that's another trick of their trade, is people want what's popular. You want to go to a restaurant that's full. You want to go to a restaurant that has a line. It just says something about the product. People, when a product's in demand, people are attracted to it more. And In-N-Outs, if you live in a state where they have In-N-Outs, you know In-N-Outs in demand. There's never a time when there's not a line at In-N-Out. Never. There will always be a line at In-N-Out. There will always be a wait at In-N-Out. Their food quality is part of their success. Harry and Esther had a very good philosophy. They thought that nothing should ever be frozen. They said that if anything is frozen, it would take away from the flavor, and that's what they're all about, is the flavor. And so they stuck to their high quality and consistency, which makes for good culture. Caring about the quality of your product, no matter what, and always trying to elevate your product, is good culture, and that leads to good sales. And to add to that, they've only had 4 food items on their menu since 1948. So they've been spending over 70 years mastering these 4 items, and that's a cheeseburger, hamburger, french fries, and a shake. That's all they do, and they've mastered it to a T. And not only are they perfecting the look and the flavor of the burger, that's not what they do over those 7 years, but they also perfect the speed and efficiency of how long it takes to make it while still keeping it high quality, while still keeping it looking good. If you've gone to an In-N-Out, if you've had In-N-Out, the burgers are immaculate. They always look great. They always look like well put together. There's care that goes behind how they make it versus McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell. I'm sure we've all had products from those places where we look at the burger and it's just sad. You know, there's a small like tomato, there's only one pickle, or there's not enough sauce, or everything's on the left side, or it's just thrown together and just looks like crap. That's never the case with In-N-Out. I've been In-N-Out more times than I like to admit. In fact, sometimes when I get in my car, my phone automatically routes me to In-N-Out because I go there so much. Don't tell my doctor. And on top of only having 4 items, they also keep those items very simple. The burger is meat, cheese, bun, lettuce, tomato, onion, and spread. Nothing more, nothing less. It's that simple. And their spread, no pun intended, is their secret ingredient. The spread on In-N-Out it's the best sauce you can put on a burger. There's just nothing that matches it. I've tried to make it. You can't make it. There's other companies I've tried to make it and put it on shelves. They don't come close. It's just nothing compares. I remember when Shake Shack came out, Shake Shack had this secret sauce that was supposed to be better than In-N-Out's, and it wasn't. It just tasted like mayonnaise. In-N-Out is it's basically like a variation of a Thousand Island spread, but it just has this flavor. It has a tanginess to it, but still like the buttery fattiness of mayo and relish, and it's delicious. It's so good. Anybody that's had an In-N-Out burger will tell you that's like the selling point. That's what makes it so good. That's what sends it over the top. And the fries are made to order. So they cut the fries there. They get the potatoes. You'll as you're going through the drive-thru, or if you're ordering food inside, you can see them. There's one guy that just sits there and he just puts a potato and he cuts the fries. That's all he does. So your fries are always made to order. Their fries, because they're so busy, it's just constantly going in the oil, coming out, and then put in the bag. That's it. Fries don't just sit like at McDonald's. And because their fries are natural, they're real fries, they're from real potatoes that they make in-house, they go bad fast. They'll lose their crispiness fast versus McDonald's, which has a bunch of preservatives in it. As I said earlier, In-N-Out does not serve frozen food. They will not serve frozen food. So how do they get a patty from their vendor to their store without it going bad? Patties travel across the world. You probably don't know this, but the United States gets a lot of their meat. Like when you go in the grocery store and you get grass-fed meat, a lot of that meat comes from New Zealand or other countries. So a lot of times McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, they'll get their patties from other countries. They're frozen. You get them flown over and then shipped and delivered. What In-N-Out does is In-N-Out owns their own meat vendors. So they actually own the companies that produce their meat. And they make sure all of their stores are near a plant that manufactures the meat. And they make sure their stores are near a plant that produces the meat. So the meat gets made, it goes straight from factory to In-N-Out. And that's how you do quality control, right? If you own the meat company, then you're gonna know what kind of meat you're getting because you own the company. So In-N-Out obviously has their food down. They have the product, right? You have a great product. But how many times has a restaurant came out or even a company came out with a great product, but they have bad customer service and they fail because of that, or they don't reach their full potential because of that? It happens all the time, but In-N-Out does not fall victim to this. In-N-Out has one of the best customer experiences as a restaurant, hands down. And more importantly, they're consistent with it. I grew up in Southern California, so I've been to In-N-Out a lot. And every time I go to In-N-Out, it's the same. Great, friendly service. It's unparalleled. It's unflinching. I've never had bad service. I've never had unprofessional service. I've never had someone give me an attitude. I've never had someone not know what they're doing or seem like they didn't know what they're doing. I've only had exceptional service from In-N-Out, and it's impressive because it's consistent. In-N-Out pays their employees well. That's it. In-N-Out pays their employees about 25% more than minimum wage just starting off. If you're an hourly employee and you get hired there, usually they'll pay you about 25% over minimum wage. Not only that, but you get benefits. You get health, dental, and vision. You get matching 401k and vacation time. Plus, you get a free meal every shift, which is awesome because In-N-Out's delicious. But more importantly, you get all those perks, plus you get over the minimum wage. So now your employees are motivated. Managers make up to $175,000 a year, which is obviously very high for a fast food restaurant or any restaurant in general, but very high for a fast food restaurant. But if you're paying a manager $175,000 a year to manage your restaurant, they're going to manage it well. And you're not going to pay someone that much unless they're good. But on top of that, their training process is rigorous. Cult can mean a lot of things. Usually when people think of cults, they think of like religious cults. But a cult can also mean an excessive admiration for a person or a thing. In this case, the thing is the brand In-N-Out. When you get hired at In-N-Out, you go through rigorous training, but also you're drinking the Kool-Aid because everyone there, as I said, is getting paid well, and they're doing everything for a purpose. Everyone is working towards the same mission, and the same goal. To always produce the best product and to always give the best customer experience. And to give you some context, I worked in restaurants for 18 years, and there's only two types of staff that you have at a restaurant. There's either one group or the other. Like you walk into a restaurant, either they have this group of people or this group of people. They don't mix together. It's just one group because it's all contagious, and one wins out. So the first one is the worst one. And it's a group of people that are lazy and they want to do the least amount of work possible. That's their goal. I want to do the least amount of work and I want to get paid. And I call this who can do the least amount of work staff, because it's a staff that's constantly trying to lower the bar of how little you can get away with doing. And that's sadly 70 to 80% of restaurants, because people are lazy. Especially nowadays, people are very lazy. They don't want to work. And so that's a culture that you get. Once that culture is instilled, once that seeps into the staff and it spreads like a virus, really hard to reverse it. It's so hard. And no restaurant ever starts off like that. No restaurant opens and says, I want to have the laziest staff and I want my staff to do as little as possible and I want them to train the people that come in behind them to do as little as possible. No owner has that. Every owner has the opposite, which is the other staff that I'm talking about. And I call this group the who can do the most staff members. So these are staff members that are saying, who can do the most? Who can do more? Who can do more work? Who can perform better? Who can come up with better ideas? Who can provide a better customer experience? It's just raising the bar constantly. How do we raise the bar? How do we have someone come in and want to raise the bar? And it creates a really rewarding work environment because you know that you're working with the best. Whether it's in a restaurant, corporate offices, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Like, when you're working every day, you should be working with the best people. Why not? Like if you're spending 8 hours a day there, then no matter what you're doing, you should be wanting to work with the best. They're probably the best at getting the most out of themselves. And that's the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. You are the 5 people that you hang out with. Everyone's heard that old cliche, but it's true. And if you're spending 8 hours a day with people and they're all being lazy and they don't want to do anything and they're cutting corners, then that's who you're going to become. But when you're working with these people that are trying their hardest, that are impressive, then that's who you're going to become. So that's why it's important to work in that environment if you have any desire to have self-growth and to maximize your potential. When you have that group of people working in your restaurant, then it's important that they believe in what they're doing and that they know what they're doing. They have a mission. And In-N-Out's mission, again, is to serve the best product, give the best customer experience. So In-N-Out pushes that. In-N-Out pushes that agenda. It's treat people with respect, love your neighbor, honesty. In-N-Out has those core values on top of what their mission statement is, and they push that all the time. You live it and you breathe it. I'm sure when you walk into an In-N-Out, everyone's on the same page because everyone's getting paid well, everyone's getting benefits, everyone's being taken care of. You're in a great work environment. You feel like you're accomplished at the end of the day. All that leads to is, as long as you have the programs in place and the training in place, that leads to a great customer experience. So now you're giving people the great product and you're wrapping it up in great customer experience. Who's going to complain about that? And that's why In-N-Out is so popular. And one thing I love about In-N-Out is they do unorthodox marketing. Again, living in California, I don't remember seeing an In-N-Out commercial. I'm sure I have, but that doesn't mean In-N-Out doesn't do marketing. So if you see it online a lot, or celebrities will talk about In-N-Out. They'll say it's the best burger. They have to stop by there when they're near an In-N-Out, or they'll be just eating at an In-N-Out, or they'll be in their car taking a picture with In-N-Out. Anthony Bourdain even said that In-N-Out is his favorite fast food meal, and he thinks that the In-N-Out in LA is the best restaurant in LA. He's actually gone on interviews and said that. I thought that he actually meant that. I thought that he just actually admired In-N-Out a lot, but I found out that was marketing. In-N-Out paid him to say that, but they don't talk about it. In-N-Out pays celebrities to sit outside of In-N-Out's and eat while the paparazzi's following them, taking photos of them. In-N-Out pays celebrities to take pictures of In-N-Out. All they want is just a post. They don't tell them what to write. They don't say to post on this time. They just said, hey, do 5 posts with us, just you eating In-N-Out. They pay all these celebrities to do it. So you think all these celebrities are just loving In-N-Out, but really it's marketing. And that's really genius, unorthodox marketing. That's my style of unorthodox marketing. I think any marketing you should do for a restaurant should always be unorthodox. Obviously, you're not going to have access to celebrities, but there's a lot of ways to do unorthodox marketing. And I think that it's the best way to go. If you're marketing like everyone else is, you're going to get the same results everyone else is. So that's why In-N-Out's a cult, because they get people to have excessive admiration for a thing, which is In-N-Out, the brand. And they do so by just caring. They care about their employees. They care about their community. They care about their brand. They care about their product. And because they care, it's hard not to have that excessive admiration for them, because as a consumer, you're getting everything you'd ever want in a product. You're getting a good product, you're getting it consistently, and you're getting it with a good experience. It's the best possible way to get a product that you can imagine. And when you add on top of that they're embedded in their community and they take really good care of their employees, then it makes it hard not to imagine how they couldn't be successful. And then again, their values. They have their values and they stick with them. They're not trying to do the money run. They're not trying to do the cash grab. They're trying to just represent what they believe is right and best for the world from their point of view, which you have to admire. Anyway, that's all I got.